Well, we are now about to sink our teeth into the program that we have, the menu we have for you today. We've just been through paper review and we saw all of the headlines. PDP, RAPC, SDP, 37 parties form coalition against APC. That's how some of the papers couch them. We've also seen some reactions. Some parties are saying, no, it's not all of us. Some are saying, well, we're in it. You know, all of our buddies are in it. But we'll get reactions now from, beg your pardon now, Dr. Tafawa Balewa, who is co-chairman of the NIM and also a principal party to the Memorandum of Understanding, which we signed yesterday. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning.
Good morning. It seems it's taken a long time coming, but for a number of people, they did not see that so many parties will be involved in signing this Memorandum of Understanding. Are you worried about the number of parties? Do you think that it will constitute a challenge at the end of the day, just the sheer number of the political parties involved?
No, not at all. When we started the Nigerian intervention movement, we were speaking to all Nigerians. There was a splintering of ideas, and that's why you have so many parties. But the idea that the national Nigerian intervention movement had initially was to collate as many groups together as possible to be able to speak to the government. And that's basically what's happening. It's just that there are so many splinter groups that we're now putting together and coalescing.
And you said to be able to speak to the government. To be able to speak to the government or challenge the government, which one of them?
Both.
Okay.
You know, by speaking to government, you may be challenging them to do better, or if they cannot do what is right, maybe there are other people that can, you know. So it's a challenge. You're speaking to them in a challenge form.
Mm-hmm. So as one of the people who was, you know, the chief principal party to the MOU, were you excited yesterday? How did you feel personally?
I looked at most of the faces there. I mean, these are faces that I knew before. Mm-hmm. We've talked and bantered about so many of the ideas that we coalesced together yesterday. So it was kind of exciting. It was a reunion of sorts.
What were the details of the MOUs that were signed? I mean, what are we to see in the next couple of days, for instance?
Well, in the next couple of days, we will be looking at the nitty-gritty of what the MOU is. The MOU is a broad brush of working together.
Basically saying what?
Basically saying we want to recapture what we feel Nigeria should be. Nigeria wasn't so bad before, but it was painted to the large majority of the people as decadent. And now things are getting a little bit worse because a lot more people are suffering. We want to see if we can recapture some parts of the good things of the old and repair some of those things that brought it down in the first place.
That some people felt that, you know, there was that all the parties were not on equal footing, so to speak, especially since you also have groups like the NIM inside, which are not political parties. Do they think that everybody's bringing the same thing to the table?
Every single party to this and every movement have one vote in the union. So there's absolute equality.
Absolute equality?
Absolute.
Regardless of whether or not you're a political party?
Regardless.
Regardless of whether or not you're a small party or a big party?
It doesn't matter. You have one vote.
Looking at some of the headlines, some people were saying, we're happy to be back in the PDP. Is this an umbrella, so to speak? The PDP's insignia is an umbrella. Is this, you know, a coming back, so to speak, to the major opposition party, the People's Democratic Party?
It's an umbrella, but I wouldn't say an umbrella of the PDP.
Okay.
But it's an umbrella of Nigerians that care about this country, that care about the growth, that care about so many ills that this country is going through right now. Obviously, the reformed APC has basically nothing to do with PDP. I don't think SDP does also. The only thing that goes right through all of these parties is that they will have members of the NIM.
Okay, so is this what the NIM promised in the beginning? Is this what they had in mind when they talked about a Nigeria intervention movement? For a lot of people, they thought that there would be something very different about it, fundamentally different about it. The Coalition for Nigeria is not a member of this coalition that has been signed, is it?
Maybe not, but NIM is a very unique group. We started about a year ago, and just like a very good, clean crystal, we started attracting more and more people that saw Nigeria the way we're seeing it, that want Nigeria the way we think it should be, and this is the result.
But some people will say that these are all members of the old guard. We've seen them before. We've seen what they can do. And in many instances, perhaps we're not impressed. How do you think that they're going to be taking this new coalition? Isn't the same of the same?
This is actually not true. NIM, for instance, has over 6 million youths signed up with PVCs. They've never voted before. These are people that arrived at the age of voting within the last 3-4 years. So it's not the same.
But they were not represented there yesterday at the signing of that memorandum. They were, you know, the people whom we saw were largely people who had been in government before, holding one position or the other, and not the young people which you talk about in the NIM.
I have never held any position. There were other people like me. There were a lot of youths that represented youth parties. Unfortunately, television stations couldn't cover everything. It would have been extremely expensive, but the youth were very well represented.
Well,
so
agreed. I mean, assuming, of course, 37 parties, definitely there'll be parties that, you know, are obviously peopled largely by young people, or at least claim to, you know, be peopled by young people and fresh faces. But then considering the force, I mean, you had a high table there yesterday,
yes,
and you also had people sitting in the audience. When we look at the members of the high table, for instance, we didn't see any fresh faces which we hadn't seen before. They were mostly people that hadn't, that we know, and a lot of people believe that these are the people who will most likely lead this coalition. One of the significant things that was mentioned yesterday was also about putting aside ego, putting aside, you know, personal ambition and trying to work for the good of this coalition, so to speak. How do you see that panning out?
One of the things that will surprise most people during the coming elections is that somebody totally fresh will end up leading this coalition and leading the country. Most of the people, I mean, whether you're talking about the old party stalwarts from the PDP, the Tamboas and the Kwankwazos and Dankwambos and Sule Lamidos, will not be leading this party. There are a lot of changes that have come within the last 4 years, and that has to do with the likes of your station. You have educated the Nigerian masses so well, either from print media or from television stations or radio stations. We've been so better educated that we have ideas of what we're looking for.
Pardon me to button, but
yeah,
is that your expectation? Is that your personal expectation, or is that part of the MOU that was signed yesterday?
No. My personal expectation,
yes,
and the expectation of most people that we've spoken to.
Because, you know, some people will say that a lot of people believe that this will be a viable platform for them to be able to actualize their ambitions. A lot of them want to be president. We've seen posters around here in the Federal Capital Territory. We've seen, you know, even campaign organizations being formed for some of the people we saw there yesterday. How do you think all of these ambitions, you know, coming into one big pot, so to speak, or one big coalition, will pan out for this particular coalition at the end of the day?
The Nigeria of today
Yes.
will require a leader that none of those people that have mentioned. We need better exposure. We need better representation. We need better understanding of world issues, of our issues. And I don't see any of those, even though we're all going together. One of the things that's specific to this particular union is that there will be one presidential candidate. Now, do you see all of them being chosen if we say we're choosing just one presidential candidate to be able to go against the incumbent?
There definitely will be repercussions for that.